It's wild, it's twisted. Headlines hitting like a slap and you missed it. It's madness, I'm tapped out, live on the scene and I can't find my way out.
And welcome back to another wonderful episode of the Convoluted Podcast. I'm your host, Jesus. Liz. I am tired, didn't I? Hey. Welcome to another wonderful episode. This is Iron Jesus, aka whatever. I can't do this today. Apparently, let's just scrap that.
All right, you want to start over? You can start over. Look, we haven't. Okay. It's only the intro. Breathe. Take a breath, and then just give yourself a moment, and
Before
then
my words, apparently.
All right, give yourself a second, and then go.
And welcome back to another wonderful episode of the Convoluted Podcast. I'm your host, Liz, and if it's your first time listening, hit that click and like, subscribe, and leave us a little comment. Otherwise, this is Tyrant Dominance, aka Jesus, and say hi, buddy. Say hi.
Hey, how's it going? Yes, we're once again another article we are going to be reading later this week. I hope you enjoyed our scary tale of the youth earlier in the week. But what we are going to be talking about in this one is a little bit more modern, a little bit more in the game sphere. And because this story looks at first glance like classic gamer drama. A creator tournament, a bruised ego, some Discord heat, and the inevitable who's toxic slap fight that follows every competitive blowout like a shadow. But underneath the memes, this is a cleaner and weirder article about how influencer esports actually work when money is real, but the culture is still vibes first.
At the center is $40,000 Marvel Rivals creative event where the one player, Kingsman, is framed as treating the tournament like a serious competition, college money, pride, performance, while teammates are framed as treating like social collab where the top priority is comfort, not optimization. This mismatch becomes the spark. The argument isn't just the he was mean or she was throwing. It's a dispute over what the event is, a tournament with stakes or content with a scoreboard.
From there, the story becomes a case study in modern conflict escalation. A strategic disagreement becomes a personal indictment. Is that right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Toxic becomes a label you can weaponize to win a social battle if you're losing the match. Evidence becomes editable, clips, comms, a Google Doc, and the organization's judgment call. Then after the backlash comes the modern ritual, apology tours, clarifications, and then the reversal act that doesn't fully unburn the village. So this isn't just about Marvel Rivals. It's about what happens when competitive integrity collides with influencer ecosystems, where the reputation is currency, conflict is content, and accountability often means who controls the narrative first. So just before we get started, Liz, do you know what Marvel Rivals is?
Yes, I do, unfortunately. My kid loves to play that game.
Oh, okay. So basically, as to kind of, for anyone who doesn't know, Marvel Rivals is a team-based hero shooter. I believe it's 5v5 or 6v6. It's been a long time. I haven't played it in a while, but it's a team-based sport where you're trying to do objectives, right? And so I
feel like not far off from Fortnite, if anybody knows Fortnite.
No, it's not like Fortnite. Not like Fortnite. Fortnite is
I feel like there's not too. It's very similar. I feel like sometimes you can have a group of yours.
So Fortnite is
thinking of something else.
So Fortnite is a battle royale where if you can do groups of 4, 3 of 2, but you're trying to kill everyone on the map. In Marvel Rivals, it's one team versus another, so just 2 teams. That's and there's
still shooting. Still got healers. Still, I feel like this is D&D just escalated.
Nope, Liz is still lost. You guys can roast her in the comments for that one. But anyway, what?
I feel like I'm off.
You're way off. But anyway, getting.
There's always a healer. There's always somebody who's point guard. My kiddo was talking about all of them. I know some of them.
Let's
So
see
I'm
if she
like,
can get some of these.
oh my god, why am I blanking? Now I'm on the spot. It's because I'm on the spot. Uh, uh, somebody being there the defender, and then support.
Ooh, because
That's
yeah, some of the, yeah, you got some of them. Some because yeah, some of these terms you're saying will be probably in this articles we'll be reading. There are like the healer, the DPS, the support, the tank. These are kind of the general terms for this type of game. But yeah, but from what we're going to be getting into the story, I know a little bit of it, but we'll be getting deeper into the story. But it seems to be surrounded by a huge $40,000 tournament, Liz, between one guy and his team. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money to be able to win.
mm-hmm.
Do you have any thoughts before getting into it from just what we kind of gathered in this? It sounds like a lot of people were fighting.
It sounds like a gaming espionage like we've heard before between WoW. Like again, we're back into WoW. Like I feel like this is a WoW thing and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Nope. Liz still.
WoW.
I know what WoW is.
Has competition. Yeah.
Oh no, yeah.
Competitions. They have competitions.
I know they do.
Not far off from that and concept, but I know people are a little bit more, crazier in that aspect.
So, well, let's get a little started. So, why are people mad? Some people are. So, the general conception of why quote we're mad is because it isn't a normal game result. So, just general gamery. This is a $40,000 prize purse situation where one player by the name of Kingsman is framed as taking it seriously because the money would materially help him as a college student, while his teammates are framed as treating the tournament like a social collab where vibes matter more than optimize. That mismatch matters because it sets up the entire conflict before anyone even argues about the characters or strategy. If you think you're in a real tournament, you have to, and you behave like it, you scrim, you adjust, you swap comps, you take criticisms, you try to win. If you think you're filming content with a scoreboard, you behave differently. You protect comfort, you protect ego, you play your main. And if you're someone is too intense, you label them as the problem, not the performance.
The summary doc puts it in blunt, story-shaped terms. Kingsman tries to make comp changes to improve their chances. The team reacts by attacking his personality, and eventually leads to him getting kicked. After which the team is described as finishing near the bottom of the tournament. And that's the core why we are mad. Look, the tournament becomes a referendum to whether trying is socially acceptable. The narrative framing even spells out the audience's natural confusion. Why join a tournament if you don't care about winning?
So, in other words, the story isn't really about one argument. It's about the modern competitive ecosystem where the worst sin isn't we're losing, if you're making us feel like we're losing. So, you kind of got a little bit more gist of the story. Sounds like one guy was trying, for better of like a term, trying a little too hard to win, while everyone was trying to play, just play the game. But in a competitive sense, when such a large pool, wouldn't you want to try to win? What are your thoughts, Liz?
Oh, if I was competitive in that essence, I would try and definitely win. Absolutely. Yes, I would hope my team would want to win too, but if they're just trying for social,
for the content,
collaboration, for the content, why, what was the purpose? Why join a tournament? Again, tournaments are you win money. Tournaments are like, hey, I'm trying to win. Like, it's just like poker, right? You're in the game to win that big pot, like 25 million at this point. I don't know. But you know what I mean? Like, you would try to win. I want a portion of that 25 million. Even if I don't get up to, the first place, if I can get in the top 10, great. I at least walk away with some money. I win back the money I put in. So
Exactly.
You know?
It's not a bad example, but the example you're giving is, look, for the most part, poker is a solo game. So you only have to rely on
it's a solo
yourself.
game, and I can't think of another game that would have.
You can
like,
you can take any sports game, basketball.
Yeah, true. Basketball, football, baseball, right?
Yeah,
Any of those.
any
games.
team-based sport. Because think about it, if you're trying to win and you're trying to earn a good chunk of money, and the rest of your team isn't quote trying and win, how would that make you feel when you're trying to put out some advice to kind of change it up to try to win, but then you're scowled as being trying too hard? That's kind of where the story is.
It just doesn't make sense to me in my head. I'm like, if you're in a tournament, wouldn't you want to win?
So yeah, so that's where this story kind of taking place. Is like he's trying. There are clips out there. There's a lot of clips out there, and some of them are he's trying to push for his team. We'll get into one of the main issues for quote the one of the members to change their character. It's considered the Whittle discourse we'll be talking about. And he's being a little bit pushy, like, hey, you should change your character. You're not doing so good right now with them. But they're like, no, we can do good. And even though he is doing way better. But I think let's actually jump into the Whittle discourse and then we can continue. How does that sound?
That sounds good.
I'll let you start.
Where the story becomes deliciously petty and structurally important. It's not just they argue, quote unquote, it's an argument about what the competitively play even is. In the transcript framing, the team's mate is described as Black Widow, one trick playing with 200 ping. And Widow is described as like a sniper, following immediately by the rhetoric dunk, and you play a sniper with a 2,000 ping. The answer given is a hard no. That's the seed of the entire meltdown. Kingsman isn't asking for a small adjustment. He's asking someone to abandon the identity they brought into the lobby.
And importantly, the request isn't framed as switch because I said so. It's framed as the comp's logic argument. Kingsman predicts the teams will be running triple support. Whittle will get dived and then killed, and then the team will get rolled if they don't adapt. He even offers to flex roles, offering to play Mantis support for Widow, which is included to paint him as trying to solve the problem rather than just complain. That's the Widow discourse in its purest form. Is it toxic to ask someone to swap, or is it toxic to refuse to swap when you're dragging the team in a money tournament?
This story gives the scene its viral punch. It presents a clip moment where the Widow player is described as 0 and 5, while Kingsman is described at 18 and 2. Yet Widow player is telling him to shut up. Whether those exact numbers are perfectly contextual or not, the reason this spread is the reason they spread is obvious. They compress the entire argument into a single humiliating scoreboard snapshot. It's the internet's favorite kind of evidence: simple, legible, and morally weaponizing.
So just for you, Liz, for context a little bit. So when it says 0 and 5 and 18 and 2, it means that the Whittle player was 0 kills, 5 deaths.
And I figured as much.
Yeah. So you can see like who's doing the work right here.
Right.
From there, the comp argument morphs into synergy arguments. One speaker insists that they're synergized in the comp they're running, and that Kingsman is hurting the team synergy by complaining about the comp that we are synergized with. And with the moments where the competitive logic and the social logic collide, Kingsman is talking about the win condition. They're talking about emotional harmony as a win condition.
And that's why the segment is more than game and nerd trivia. Widow discourse becomes the stand-in for a bigger conflict. In a creative tournament, a character pick isn't just a tactical choice, it's often a brand choice. Asking someone to swap can, stop being you. In a normal ranked match, that's annoying. In a creative environment, it can be treated like an insult. Harmony-wise, the writes itself without even adding much sauce. Sniper on 200 ping, basically trying to thread a needle during an earthquake. The team's logic becomes, we don't need a triple support, we need a triple delusion. And the most cursed part, the fight isn't actually about Widow, it's about whether the group will punish the person who's treating the tournament like a tournament.
So yeah, so that's kind of one of the discourse that was happening. He was like asking the Widow main, like, hey, can you change? You're not doing really well, or asking them like, I'll change to help you. And then he was getting yelled at by the rest of the team, like he's being the toxic one. What are your thoughts here, Liz? Hearing this, if that was you, if you were,
feels like a bully, kind of a bullying. He's not bullying. He's actually trying to be helpful. You know that there's always that group of people, right? We always encounter them, right? We got the person who's trying to keep the discourse at an even keel. Everybody's good, trying to be helpful, and willing to help and adjust the group so that there's a nice even keel to it. And then you got this one strong-headed fool like, nah, no, I'm being who I am, I don't give a fuck, kind of crap. So we are, I don't know, that's how I feel like we have a normal group of people, right? We always have that, the strong head, I'm gonna be that jerk asshole, and then you got this person who's trying to be meshing it with everybody and be like, okay, we can make this work, kind of thing, right?
yeah, that's not bad, but let's take it a little bit further with this specific. Instead of that, it's the rest of his team are those heartstring people, and then just one person trying to be reasonable. And no, there's also
and that's where they're following the leader, right? They're following the head ass jerk because that's where we want to vibe with, and not the person who's trying to make it work.
Yeah,
and we're having this other person, the Kingsman, trying to win this tournament, and they are like, man, just in it for whatever shits and giggles.
Yeah, she was really adamant of not changing. She was very hand wavy, kind of. And to know, like, do you know what a one trick pony is?
Kind of, yes. It's been a long time since I've heard that term.
So one trick in general, what it means is that you're only good with one type of character. So when a person does one trick, is like they're only good with that one character in any game. So if you're like a one trick in a fighting game because you only have one good, like for me personally, I'm only reasonable with certain characters in certain games, and definitely I get accustomed to one character more than others, and I was like, I just like playing this character because I know how to use it, because then that becomes your one trick, right? And for the most part, one thing for sure, to give her some credit, she is not a bad Black Widow player. Like she's actually that's her main, so she's actually reasonably good. The problem is for a tournament like this, and when Kingsman is suggesting that how it's a competitive team, there's multiple characters, you have to synergize with your team, not only as a group but as your characters. When someone's not willing to change to help the rest of the team, it's kind of detrimental. And from what we already read early on, they place like second to last in the tournament.
It's so sucky to be in the tournament and be like, yeah, we're second to last, we didn't win.
And remember,
money.
I'm
a student.
Yeah, on top of that, yeah, he's trying to make some money but anyways, remember, there was a little note in the beginning that he got kicked out of the team too at the end. So let's continue, and then we'll probably get into that part in a little bit. So in competitive spaces, the word toxic should mean something pretty specific: harassment, threats, slurs, targeted abuse, stuff that makes the environment unsafe. But in creator tournaments, the label often expands to, you made me uncomfortable by insisting we take this seriously.
That's a mechanism that the story is describing. Kingsman is framed as repeatedly pushing for swaps and strategy. The pushback isn't as we disagree. It's just because you're toxic, you're ruining the vibe. You're the problem, not the team comp, not the performance, not the refusal to adapt.
At once the label lands, it does three powerful things at once. So the first thing it does, it converts a gameplay argument into a character
Statement.
indictment. Yeah. Instead of debating whether Black Widow is viable with a huge ping, the argument becomes, why are you like this? These articles explicitly frame the escalation. The team is roasting Kingsman for being insistent about the comp choices, but the insistence itself becomes evidence of moral failure. The sneaky part, the behavior that wins the tournament, gets reframed as antisocial behavior.
It flips the power dynamic. Accountability becomes abuse. Once Toxus is tapped to Kingsman, any attempt to correct performance can be treated like bullying. Meanwhile, the transcript depicts the team as being so openly rude back, telling him to shut up, mocking him, and framing him as a loser with no social skills. Then later trying to describe it as not a personal attack. So the audience is watching a rhetoric magic trick. When he criticizes gameplay, it's toxicity. When they insult him, it's just facts. It's not personal.
And the third thing is it becomes justification packet for removal. This is where it goes from team tension to organized action. These articles claim that the captain complained to the tournament host. Oh, here it is. And then introduce a big modern ingredient, a Google Doc compiled with Widow's players. Ooh, this was interesting. It was compiled by the Widow player's boyfriend and described the dozer of Kingsman being toxic when it gets posted and circulated and ultimately helps lead to him being kicked. It's not just drama. That the process label receipts plus distribution equal consequence. What are your thoughts with all this, Liz?
It's just crazy. I feel like the team kind of blew it out of proportion and him trying to win. And the fact that it got stuck with that's shitty. Now he's just always so shit being toxic, just not probably even true. I mean, you can change the, rhetoric at any time. Change the story, how it fits your mold, right?
Yeah.
How do you want to tell the story? You want to tell them as toxic? No. Or you can tell them as is toxic for X, Y, and Z when he was really doing X, Y, and Z to help the team.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like once you're labeled something, it's hard to quote defend yourself. I think that's the best way to. But luckily, since this was live streamed, there's a lot of evidence to defend yourself, right? And then it becomes of like how you state it, how you you're basically in court at this point. You're on internet court. You're in the public eye right here, and for the most part, where are you siding right now in this public court right now, Liz?
I feel like I'm leaning towards Kingsman. Kingsman was trying to get the team to win. It's a tournament for a reason. I don't know. And this other team, I don't know. Maybe the team was just doing it for shits and giggles. But I guess that's where you have to. They should have been evaluated to see if they were going to be a good match, right?
Okay, so yeah,
a person who wants to win, and then you got the team who doesn't really want to win, and they're just in there to play it.
So yeah, a little bit more context too. So the way the teams were based, it was all just kind of randomly picked too. So and I believe they had like 1 or 2 days of scrims, basically practice games before they got into the tournament to kind of get a vibe. But yeah, just so for a little bit of context. But even then, if you're like, you would think if you enter or invited to a tournament for money and you agree to it, you're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna try for this money, right? A lot of these quote streamers are like small to medium streamers, so they're like not like the big dogs. There's like the people who are having the tens of thousands. They get like a couple hundred to thousands people watching them, so they're there. But $40,000 is a lot of money, mostly for a college student, and then to be basically labeled as toxic on the internet, and on top of that, having her boyfriend send to the organizers to get him kicked. That's wild. Talk about white knighting.
Right.
Right.
The story becomes extremely creative tournament where becomes a conflict isn't simply internal and external. It's external facing. Everyone's aware the audience is watching. Reputations are on the line, and toxic is the perfect term because it's both morally loaded enough to justify punishment and vague enough to stretch over almost anything. The story article even shows how fast it slides into broader community discourse. People in the surrounding commentary are throwing around toxicity, bias, and professionalism accusations at an organizer and captain, which tells you the label has escaped the match and entered the meta war.
So yeah, so that's where that's some more stuff that's happening. Is like after he got kicked, the organizer had to, had some justification because of the Google Doc, but then he didn't give Kingsman enough time to rebuttal, basically, at the time. So the organizer has been getting some heat as well for this situation, which is understandable when you're hosting an event like this, right? You have to kind of be as fair as possible, and it makes sense too. If someone is truly being toxic and being very being hostile, like, you would want them to not be in this tournament. So there, I have no reason why, like, me personally, I have no reason why, if someone is truly being a hostile person in this tournament, they should be kicked out. But from all the evidence we've seen, as far as this situation, Kingman was not, he might have been a little bit more on edge to try to win, but that's how you are in competitions, right? You're like, you're trying for this. What are your thoughts here?
I mean, he had no chance to refute some of the statements, I guess you could say. They didn't have time. That's not cool. I mean, that should have been like, hey, if somebody who can say one side of the story, somebody should be able to say the other side of the story and show clips to match the energy. I mean,
well, this was also happening during the tournament.
A one-sided war. Okay, well, there's one person here. Well, okay, we'll just. Yeah. No, this person was trying to win. This one person was trying to win. There's money at stake.
So, at some point, the creator tournament drama always mutates into what's called a vibes litigation. Interesting word. A legal system where the judge is the tournament organizer and the evidence is a folder of clips. Kind of what you said. The sentence is social ethics. Here's the summary. The doc says that the catalyst is the Google Doc created by the widow's boyfriend. And the tournament's organizers initially doubles down. Basically, nope, I maintain my position. He deserves to be kicked. He violated our rules. And the moment the story shifts from team tension to official consequences, once it becomes official, the aftermath splits into two parallel disasters. I'll let you read the first one.
The first one, the competitive disasters. You remove the carry. The recap frames Kingsman as the team's best performing player. The clip narrative earlier frames him as carrying hard while the widow pickup underperforms. And then the underscores the comedy tragedy. After he's out, the team is described as finishing second to last. That's why this part plays like a morality tale. The punishment, the people most invested in winning, and then the scoreboard does what scoreboards do.
And the second is the community disaster accountability becomes a riot. The transcript doc captures the reaction ecosystem that forms around the removal. People are accusing the organizer of being biased and incompetent. People yelling justice for Kingsman, and then the secondary explosion where the captain and participants claim that they woke up to unwarranted sexism, hateful comments, shifting the narrative into harassment spirals.
A producer-friendly framing. This is where you keep it clean on air. People got gross. don't harass anyone, while still acknowledging the core outrage about the fairness of the removal and how quickly an organizer can be swayed by a package evidence.
The reason this beat works as a rules court moments is the decision is portrayed as being made of one-sided or clip materials, which becomes important in the later reversal arc. The summary doc literally describes the organizer later admitting to the evidence and misleading and only from one side. So in the creator tournaments, the rulebook is real, but the enforcement mechanism is social, fast, and vulnerable to the narrative packing. So he basically said, "Oh, I didn't see all the evidence." Well, so yeah, that's the other thing. Is like,
you only wanted to hear one side of the story. You didn't want to hear both.
And then
simple.
And then some of the other people getting harassment from people after this story get out. I'll be honest. Sometimes if you're being a toxic person, you're being the toxic person. Yeah, you should face some consequences, right? He was trying, and you were being rude to him. We read that they were calling him a loser to his face. Like no, just because he was calling her out doesn't make it any better, and calling it sexism doesn't matter there. Like, he was trying to be helpful, and you're trying to make it into that. No, you just can't. You can't bring sexism to that. That just ruins that. What are your thoughts here?
Yeah. Like I said, I think you only want to hear the he said, she said story, but you only listen to half the story. You're not listening to both sides of the story. You're not watching all the information.
But
what was recorded. So, just because it was opposite genders, does a sexist thing? No. We have information. You have lots of different point of views, but you're trying to win it out. Somebody's trying to pinpoint it as us being sexist. It's not really sexist. It's just trying to help,
So yeah, they were getting, like, the captain Zaza was getting a lot of harassment, and a lot of the other teammates too were getting a lot of harassment after this, and they were still trying to defend their points, Liz, after the tournament, and still kind of being aggressive to Kingsman, even though Kingsman was kind of just trying to just do his own thing and not talk about it anymore. And when the harassment did start, he was trying to hey, don't harass them anymore. And that's where all the talk of sexism and everything from Kingsman's audience apparently we're getting. That's where all that comes. So what are your thoughts on that?
Okay. It sounds crazy. That's all I gotta say. It's getting a little outrageous.
Don't forget, Liz,
a little blown out of proportion.
This is the Convoluted Podcast.
I know.
This is reality. This is what happened literally last week.
I know. Yeah, I know.
And this was over a game for $40,000.
Yeah, I see it. People who want to win it and are in it for that reason, and then you got the people who are just being goofballs and not wanting to win it, but just be in it. To say, "Oh, I was in the tournament." Cool. But did you win the money? No.
All right, let's continue. We're almost done.
And this is where the part of the story where the internet's favorite genre kicks in. I'm sorry, but also here's why it's not really my fault. The organizer's reversal from "he deserved it" to "I was wrong." The summary lays out the tonal 180 in a clean sequence. First, the tournament organizer initially doubled down, maintaining that Kingsman deserved to be kicked and violated all our rules. And then comes a reversal. The organizer appears very somber and essentially says the backlash is justified and admits he was wrong, specifically because the evidence he reviewed was misleading only from one side. Duh. And he acted too hastily. The summary frames as a come to Jesus moment, where he acknowledged he manipulated by incorrect information and that he shouldn't have been kicked him.
Damn.
Have kicked him.
What are your thoughts there on just that? As his kind of like, oh, oops, I'm sorry. After everything, after
Yeah. Like backpedaling. My bad. Like, come on. Yeah, you didn't bother listening to both sides of the story, and you didn't bother reviewing the information. It's like,
he won't.
need both sides of the story.
He probably won't be hosting another tournament for a while.
Mm-hmm.
The
Kidding.
That's the backbone of the reversal arc. The decision wasn't defended as corrected; it was defended as rushed. The secondary apologies, the boyfriend and then the captain. Are you ready for this one, Liz? The apologies. After the organizer of reversal, the story becomes a cascading apology ladder. Everyone trying to get out from under their blast radius. The summary docs says that Kaplunk, the boyfriend, Kaplunk, that's the name, who allegedly put together the evidence packet, reached out with an apology, acknowledging that he overstepped and went about it the wrong way, despite being told to leave it alone. Can you believe that? He overstepped to defend his girlfriend.
Really? Mm-hmm.
And then, and when the captain Cece comes forward with the apology too, frames as a regret for lashing out and making insults comments in a freak out. That's her quotes, including specific references, remarks about Kingsman's social skills. Remember when she was calling him a loser? Just that was her apology, that she was freaking out, Liz.
Right. Okay.
What are your thoughts on just these two individuals?
Yeah.
So if someone's freaking out, and that's how they apologize to you, Liz, that you were trying, and then after all this backlash, they finally like, oh yeah, we were wrong, kind of. But it's because I was freaking out. Like, I'm sorry, okay? I was freaking out. I'm sorry I called you a loser, Liz.
Right.
Okay, it was just my.
You meant it. You meant it because you're a loser yourself.
So, what
I don't know. That's like ridiculous. I feel like, yeah, the backpedal, they're like, oh, okay, now we're going to go down that way. You know, like I said, like an apology ladder just kind of cascaded, right? Oh, my bad, oh. I don't know. That's just ridiculous. That freaking out does not give it, it doesn't sound sincere. It's not a sincere apology. I was freaking out. Well, okay.
Yeah. So the doc immediately shows why this doesn't land cleanly. It notes that a community note gets dropped allegedly that even after things calm down, CZ continued to bully. Yeah, he continued to bully Kingman and still speak ill of him across social media. Plus mentions a broader history of trash talks. So the apology doesn't land as a reset button, but like she thought it might have. The PR
whiplash. Okay.
Yeah, I'll just finish this. The PR whiplash, the public goes from he deserved it to I was misled and we apologize, and then wait, you're still doing it. Yeah, you're still doing it.
Yeah. Longer transcript style shows that the community reaction to apologies as basically, this isn't genuine. I said that. You're trying to stop the hate while people calling it scapegoating and performative accountability. It also captures a structural issue. Apologies don't settle anything if the content that caused harm is still up, or if the behavior continues in another channel. So the audience treats the apology like a PR asset, not a moral act.
Yeah, that's kind of what it feels like, right? They're just like, so all the harassment they're getting is like, like, stop harassing me, I'll apologize, right? And then they still continue. What this arc reveals is a feature of creator tournaments. Conflict resolution is a public facing, and accountability is negotiated in real time with the audience acting as jury. Once that happens, apologies often become less about repair and more about controlling the narrative, especially if one person apologizing is also defending themselves. So yeah, like I was just saying, it's like you have to have evidence. But when you're trying to apologize and the evidence is like still hurting you. So what are your thoughts before we end this? Like, I have some notes to kind of to close this off about Kingsman and stuff. But what are your thoughts of of the captain of this tournament, of the organizers, of how things were handled and everything?
The organizers should have listened to both sides of the story before kicking him off, if not rerouting him to a different team. You know what I mean? And boyfriend trying to be, I'm a man, I got
Defend my girl.
I'm gonna defend my girl with these one-sided shenanigans, a Google Doc, if you will. I mishandled it. Right. You didn't mishandle it. You were trying to get you were trying to get a win for your girlfriend. Okay, cool. And then the girlfriend still, oh, I apologize, I freaked out. Oh, but I'm still harassing you and I still hate you and I'm telling all of that on my social media. That's ridiculous. Ridiculousness. It is it's not really a true I'm sorry. It's more I'll say it because everybody else is saying it, but I still hate you guys. And I'm gonna tell it to your face every day.
And stop harassing me.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it feels like. That's what it feels like, right? And to just note a few things. Since all this is happening, it's been a couple days, right? Been a couple days, and Kingsman has had since he streams on his like off days and everything, he's gotten a large amount of followers and audience watching him now. He's gotten multiple donations. He's gotten some stuff from the actual company that developed Marvel Rivals, and he's been getting gifts and stuff. So he has been, quote, the winner of this case, Liz. If you want a winner or loser in this, so he has been the winner. Gaining a large audience or a larger audience and some level of redemption in this space. So how does that make you feel before we end this?
It feels a little bit better, but yeah, still be labeled toxic. It's not going to be. I don't think it ever goes away, right? Somebody will always go back.
Someone will
feel this, right?
Yeah.
Oh, the internet lasts forever, like we said, right?
Mm-hmm.
Once it dies.
So at the end of the day, the funniest part of this story is also the bleakest. Everyone shows up for our tournament, but the real contest wasn't Marvel Rivals. It was who gets labeled toxic first. Because once toxic becomes the headline, the actual question, did the team play well? Did they adapt? Did they take prize pool seriously? Gets swallowed whole. Strategy turns into attitude, criticism turns into abuse, and the scoreboard becomes secondary to the social scoreboard, where the win condition is don't be the villain in the clip montage.
The rule court drops and it plays out like modern justice always does online. Evidence is compressed into snippets, bundled into a neat little document, and delivered to the organizer like it's closing argument. The organizer makes a call fast, the community riots faster, and suddenly you're not watching a tournament, you're watching a live fire rehearsal for how fragile fairness, quote unquote, is when the enforcement mechanism is vibes and time pressure.
And when the reversal comes, I acted too hastily. The evidence was one-sided. It doesn't actually reset anything. It proves the scariest point. The system can swing from punishment to apology on a dime, without ever meaningfully repairing the damage. The apology tour becomes its own content arc, and then the internet is the judge, judging the apologies like they're patch notes. Is it this genuine? Is this performative? Did you actually change, or did you just change your wording? So if this topic or story was about losing the ability to follow the plot, the last story was about losing the follow the rulebook, because the rulebook doesn't matter in these narrative engines to decide you're the bad guy.
If you're ruling from the convoluted court of public opinion and create a tournament with the real money on the line, is it toxic to demand swaps and try hard comms, or is it toxic to refuse to adapt and then hide behind vibes when the team loses?
What is the correct punishment? Yeah, go for it.
What's the correct punishment for a sniper on 2000 ping? Be creative, be merciful, but don't.
Send us your verdict down in the comments, and if you're watching this on YouTube or Spotify, if you're listening to this on audio, don't forget to drop a rating or review. And your one sentence takes a guilty or not guilty, middle ground. And that's just to be clear, don't harass anyone involved. yeah, like, be honest, don't harass anyone involved in this situation. Roast the situation, not the people, because the only thing more embarrassing than losing for $40,000 tournament is becoming a screenshot in somebody else's apology video. So, thanks again for listening or watching. Until next time. See ya.
Going with KB, surge to a level of the block. This is the 95. Where the night going? We out going, we go. Yo, we got bees in the street. Sleepers on the block. This is jail TCP. Live talking cover. Cool block. The command with the mic and a bulletproof vest. Reporting live from a scene that's a hot mess.